What is going on YouTube? Running on Sports back here with another video. Today we are talking about the Hall of Fame game, 2021 Hall of Fame game, 2021 Hall of Fame game review. Game that ended probably less than an hour ago. It's currently 8:51 p.m. Pacific time. So game ended approximately about an hour ago, and so we're here to talk about it. And so if you have not already, please leave a like down below on this video. Subscribe to this channel, share this with your friends, follow our social media pages at runningun_sports on Instagram and at runningunsports on TikTok. And with that being said, let's get right into the video. And we knew this was going to be more of a sloppy game, and I didn't expect much of a ultra competitive game or anything like that. And that's really how it was. There wasn't too many big plays or anything. And now we'll read through the scoring plays that happened. You had a field goal in the first quarter from the Cowboys. Then they did not score again for the rest of the game. And then a touchdown for the Steelers in the third, and a field goal for the Steelers, and also in the third quarter, and then a touchdown in the fourth quarter. And final score being 16-3. My prediction was 17-6 with the Steelers winning, so pretty close projection. And I think that there was a couple drives that the Cowboys did not finish on, and their first drive was looking promising, and they did not end up finishing the drive, which was a big story for a lot of this game, for both teams for that matter. And you're going to see that a lot in preseason games with some young guys, and I think that it was what we expected to see. It was great to see some football on. For last time football was on was in February, so I was really excited to watch it, and great to see all the Hall of Fame members, inductees be recognized. And it's gonna be a fun weekend there in Canton, Ohio for those people. But these two teams get an extra preseason game that all the other 30 NFL teams do not. And so I think that they really got to take advantage of that and use that as a privilege. And Hard Knocks will, I'm assuming, coming out next week at some point, and they'll be showing this week on the episode. I assume. I'm not certain about that, but I'm pretty sure that that's what will happen. And that's be interesting to see what how they planned for it and stuff, planning for one extra game than all the other teams did. So if you guys don't know what Hard Knocks is, it's a docu-series by HBO Sports, very good docu-series, which they follow a different team each year during training camp for normally 4 weeks, but this week 3, or this season 3 for most teams, but they're with the Cowboys this season, so they do have 4 games, and it's a very good look at inside, behind the scenes, what happens during NFL training camps. And you see some rookies get cut, some rookies showing out, making names for themselves, and it's veterans, of course, and it's always fun to watch during this time of year. So starting out with the Steelers, we're just going to talk about their defense did not disappoint at all, and obviously J.J. Watt or T.J. Watt and Mika Fitzpatrick did not play, just because they don't want them to get injured, and that makes a ton of sense. And they had a ton of good pressure on the quarterback, whoever it was, whether it was Ben Dinucci, Garrett Gilbert, or Garrett Cooper, I believe. And so all of them, the defense did very good. They had 4 sacks and 4 tackle for losses, and the Cowboys' offensive line did not do too well. And obviously it shows right there. But going against the number 1 defense overall in the league is a very tall task. And clearly that wasn't their starters, but it just shows you that they do not have very good depth at the offensive line position. And some of the guys that are their main offensive line pieces to that team are quite old, and the time's running out, and they need some more younger, good offensive linemen, which they do not have right now, and they're going to need that to be a successful football team, especially with the running backs. And they had pretty good depth at running back from what I saw. They had a couple of good running backs. Obviously, they have Ezekiel Elliott, but he hasn't been, quite the greatest running back for that team, and he's been great, but he hasn't been consistently great, and you need to be consistently great in the NFL. You can't just have great games every other week or every once in a while. That's not what the NFL running backs are paid for. That's not what, the best NFL, the top tier NFL running backs are paid for. That's not what Derrick Henry's paid for. He's paid to rush for 100 yards and a touchdown or two per game. That's why he gets so much. And Ezekiel Elliott really doesn't do that. He's very inconsistent. He has a big fumbling problem. But a guy that I really liked to see tonight, Rico Dowdle from South Carolina. He had seven rushes, or excuse me, had 8 rushes for 43 yards, 5.4 yards per carry, so pretty good right there. Ben Dinucci also had a couple of rushes, 2 rushes for 17 yards, and so 34 yards in total for him. And we saw Tony Pollard get in there. We saw Tony Pollard have a nice contribution to the team this past year when Ezekiel Elliott was out, and he got in. He only had 2 rushes, but for 9 yards. So it was very, very good to see him still doing well. 4.5 yards per carry is not bad at all. And then this big story of who's going to be the running back for the Steelers. Obviously, we knew Najee Harris can come and start. We wanted to see how good he'd do. They gave him the ball a decent amount. I think he stayed in for 3 series, and normally the starters stay in for 1. That's Mike Tomlin trying to get him some experience in the NFL. So, good decision by Mike Tomlin. Makes a lot of sense, and I don't think anyone's really going to question Mike Tomlin and his coaching decisions, considering the fact he's had 14 straight non-losing seasons as an NFL head coach. But Najee Harris, 7 rushes for 22 yards. And other than that, I did not see much from the Pittsburgh Steelers backfield. Just not great. And, if Najee Harris is to go down for whatever reason, they may be in trouble. But they do have Benny Snell, who did not play in this game. But I think that they're going to need a third-string guy. They're expecting Najee Harris to be a 3-down back type of guy. So we'll see if he is. And I think that he can definitely do it. But, obviously, just his first game in the NFL tonight, not even a regular season game. So I'm excited to see what he'll do in the rest of the preseason and in week 1. Micah Parsons, first round pick for the Dallas Cowboys, did fairly well. 3 tackles and 1 fumble recovery, 2 series of play. So very good depth, or very good pick there for the Dallas Cowboys. And so I thought that was good. As I mentioned, Dallas running backs, very good depth. They got some good third string guys, even some good fourth stringer guys to put in there. So I thought that was good. They did very good rushing as a team. 21 rush attempts, 109 yards, and 5.2 yards average. And they didn't pass the ball as much as you normally see. CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper did not play just for injury prevention. And Amari Cooper is coming off of surgery, so another reason why he's playing. But CeeDee Lamb not playing, just they don't want him to be risk of injury. But Michael Gallup did play. I don't believe he had any catches in the game, and I think that we already know how good that team receiving core is, second to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and so I thought that was very promising. And if their run game can have 100 rushing yards per game, and whether that's from just Ezekiel Elliott or whether it's from Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, and maybe some other guys combined, as long as they can get to 100 yards rushing and have some good yardage passing, which we already know that's kind of an automatic with that wide receiving core. If Dak Prescott plays well, then they're going to win a lot of football games. But I was very impressed with their rush attempts, 5.2 yards per carry on the rushing, so I thought that was very good as well. And as mentioned, the receiving, we already know they're the second best receiving core in the NFL last season, and 24 receptions, 263 yards, 11 yards per catch. So that's very promising for the Dallas Cowboys, and it's good to see that they're still doing well, and that's without their 2 best receivers as well. So that's also a very good thing for the Dallas Cowboys team. talking about some poor kicking that went on in the game. The special teams was not good at all. There's some kicks that were missed terribly in the game. And starting out with the Cowboys, Hunter Niswander, 1 for 3 and with a 29-yard kick in the first quarter. And you got to be able to make those field goals, and especially in these type of games, you especially when you're trying to fight for a roster spot, you cannot be missing field goals. And Sam Sloman for the Pittsburgh Steelers, 1 for 2 with a 48-yard field goal in the third quarter with 5 minutes and 15 seconds left. Very good. But you want to try and be 100% because kicking competition, trying to fight for a roster spot. But you as the season progresses, you hope to have better percentages than 50%, and in the Cowboys situation, 33%. But 1 for 2 on extra points, that's just a problem. That's lost games, and you see it happen a lot where they move the field goal or the PAT back, and that really caused a lot more extra point misses. And when it was on the 2-yard line, it was about a 17-yard field goal. Now it's on the 15-yard line. It's about a 35-yard field goal, 33-yard field goal. So it's that's definitely not a gimme, but you should be able to make those as a professional kicker in the NFL. And 1 for 2 is not going to cut it, and so it doesn't look good for an argument of trying to make the roster spot by any means. But Josh Dobbs, quarterback for the Steelers, he came in and as the third quarterback in the game, and he went 4 for 6 with 37 yards and a touchdown. And I really like how he played. I think that he controlled the offense very well, and they moved the ball down the field well. He was scrambling a lot, and so good job, Josh Dobbs in that game. And thing that really stood out to me was Dwayne Haskins. Right now looks like he is the third string quarterback, and they were talking about it during the game. He would probably still be the starting quarterback for the Washington football team despite him making some off the field decisions that did not benefit the team in any way, and violating COVID protocol and other just bad decisions. And coming out of Ohio State, he had a good season, but one season, and it just makes my argument of why you should never pick a quarterback who's only been in college for one season. And I never really thought Dwayne Haskins was that good at Ohio State. I mean, yes, he was good, but he was not great, and they've had some better talents come out of that school. And Ron Rivera, I respect him for letting Dwayne Haskins go, but I also think that if Dwayne Haskins was really good enough, he probably would have kept him around. He would have found a way around it, and if they're good enough, they would have done that. But something just tells me that Dwayne Haskins isn't as good as he was. He's not worth the 15th overall pick in the NFL draft, and and hopefully he realizes that this really is his last chance to have a starting quarterback spot, because if he lets Josh Dobbs outperform him or Mason Rudolph outperform him, which was not the case tonight, especially Mason Rudolph, but I think Josh Dobbs probably played equal to how Dwayne Haskins played. He also played a whole half, but Mason Rudolph did not play a very good game at all. It's 6 for 9, 84 yards, but just some very bad decisions, and you know, not the greatest game for a guy who has a whole lot more experience than both Dwayne Haskins and Josh Dobbs. But Dwayne Haskins, I just don't think that he realizes that how good he had it at Washington until he lost it all, and that's really important when you're a young rookie in the NFL. And hopefully he realizes that this really is his last chance, because he could be the starting quarterback if Ben Roethlisberger, one, gets hurt, or two, retires, or three, doesn't perform in the season. So he's got to be ready, and I think that someone's got to make sure that he's in it. And they said on the broadcast that football needs to become a priority in his life, and it doesn't seem like that's the case right now. But I was really impressed how he played. 8 for 13, 54 yards, and so I thought that he did well with how how demanding that could have been for him, considering the last time he played. He, obviously was mediocre, but he knows that this is his last chance, or hopefully he does, because if he doesn't realize it, then he may never have a shot at being a starting quarterback in the NFL ever again. And so moving on to some other quarterbacks for the Cowboys, Ben Dinucci really did not play well at all, and he went 7 for 17 with 89 yards and 5.2 yards per completion, and I just think that he did not play that well, and he has a lot of experience. He was the third stringer coming in tonight, so really the fourth string quarterback. So right now he probably doesn't even have a roster spot with when it's all said and done with Dak Prescott. Cooper Rush, I mean, played pretty well for. I'd never seen him play before. He went 8 for 13 with 70 yards, 5.4 yards per completion. So I thought that he did very well. Ben DiNucci also threw an interception, took 2 sacks for 15 yards, and so I just think that right now Ben DiNucci's in a tough spot, and he's got 3 more preseason games to get himself a roster spot and outperform Cooper Rush or Garrett Gilbert, who played very well, and they just did not finish the drives well. 9 for 13, 104 yards. It's not bad for one or two series on the offensive side of the ball. So I thought that that was good, but it just really comes down to both those teams not finishing well. And for the Cowboys, that was pretty much it, and that's why they lost this game. Steelers, I think they just had more experience, and their defense was a little too much for the Cowboys, and the Cowboys didn't have everyone that they could have had with their injuries and whatnot. And if these teams were to match up in the regular season, depending on when it was, then if it was in the middle of the season, I'd probably give that game to the Cowboys, but early in the season, I'd definitely give that to the Steelers. And so moving on to some other news, Chase Claypool went out of the game with an injury in the first quarter. He dove and made a spectacular catch on the sideline and fell on his arm and just landed awkwardly. I saw him on the sideline afterwards, and he looked to be okay. No official word has come out yet. We'll update you guys if there is any official word on that. And Dak Prescott did not play in this game because he suffered a shoulder injury, and they've been kind of downplaying it. The Cowboys organization has, but it seems to be a bigger issue than it is. He was expected to be out days, and now he's out weeks, and that's not good. But he is quote unquote fully expected to play in week 1, but probably will not have any preseason time with the Cowboys organization. So that will wrap it up for today's video. If you guys have not already, please leave a like down below, subscribe, and share this with friends. Thank you guys so much for watching.